Have you noticed that the more you try to control your drinking, the harder it feels to control? It's assumed that the only way to prevent over drinking is no drinking. If you can't stop once you start, don't start. But science shows that people who identify as sober alcoholics are much more likely to relapse into binge drinking because they identify as diseased or damaged all or nothing people. And sobriety is the nothing in the all or nothing cycle. Alcohol use disorder isn't a drinking problem. It's a thinking problem, which makes it a mental health issue. The story you're telling yourself about your relationship with alcohol doesn't make any sense. Somehow, drinking has become both the problem and the solution. I'm Colleen, and I teach intuitive drinking to high achieving professional women who want to reduce their alcohol consumption by 80%. Click the link in my description if you want to schedule a free consultation. In this episode, I will give you 4 scientific reasons why abstinence is not the cure for alcohol use disorder, and why emotional sobriety is the real path to freedom. Because if you felt more powerful and at ease in your life, you would naturally drink like someone who feels that way. So, in today's episode, I'm going to give you the 4 reasons why you shouldn't quit drinking if you are suffering from alcohol use disorder. And I want to acknowledge that this is a very counterintuitive approach. And I want to give you a full disclaimer that I am not saying that your drinking habits are sustainable or healthy, or that the goal should not be to change them. But what I am going to discuss in this episode is you have to understand the change process, how our minds change. And you need to understand that alcohol use disorder is a thinking problem, not a drinking problem. A drinking problem is a symptom of the problem that's going on in your mind. And I'm going to break all of that down so that you understand how counterintuitive it may be. Telling yourself that you can't drink for whatever reason actually reinforces and strengthens your desire to drink. Because anytime you tell yourself you can't do something, you're actually not telling yourself the truth, because you actually can drink. You can choose to drink as much as you want, whenever you want. It is not true that you can't drink. And the more you stand on that as a belief, the more your subconscious is obligated to point out that that's not actually true. You can drink. What you're trying to do when you say you can't drink is make promises for your future self, because you don't deem your future self as capable of having learned or as capable of making good decisions for you. So in this moment, you want to tell yourself a story that because of past behavior, your future self is now grounded from alcohol and can never drink again because you can't control yourself, or you can't stop once you start, or whatever it is. So I want to be clear that my goal of creating this episode and giving you this information is not to encourage you to keep drinking and not give a crap about how much you drink. That's not it at all. I just want you to understand that the solution, the cure for alcohol use disorder, is not sobriety or the absence of alcohol. The solution to alcohol use disorder is actually feeling happy and connected and having a purpose and a mission in life that causes you to be up to bigger and better things, so that it doesn't even occur to you to pour a drink. Or if it does, you decline because you want to be doing something different. This whole alcohol use disorder thing, with sobriety being posed as the solution, is it just keeps you stuck in the cycle of obsession with alcohol. I can remember realizing when I got sober after, daily drinking for over 15 years. And yeah, I definitely could have used a break. But I went into AA where it was all about not drinking. And at some point I realized alcohol was still the main focus of my life. I had just switched teams. This was a game. Instead of being a team drinker, I was now team sober. But once I had been sober for a little while, I was sleeping better. I felt better. I looked better. I had more time in my day. It was wonderful. But once that became my new normal, I realized that not drinking is not really a fulfilling purpose in life. and having to spend all of my time working on my sobriety to make sure that I don't drink again. I woke up about a year and a half into going to meetings every day and asked myself, like, isn't there something better I could be doing? Like all of these people that are gathering every single day to talk about how we're identifying as alcoholics or former addicts, and we all have to get together and talk about not drinking so that we can continue to not drink. Like I was ready to move on to bigger and better things. I was ready to drop the story that somehow I had a drinking problem, even though I hadn't had a drink in what became almost 3 years of sobriety. I realized one day that I had picked up this identity first as a drinker, then as a non-drinker, and I was allowing it to control my behaviors and limit my function and capacity and potential in life, and cause me to live in fear that if I ever had another drink of alcohol, that somehow I would lose control. One drink and I'd be on a slippery slope back into addiction. And none of that aligns with science. Our brains are neuroplastic. They are always changing. The gray matter in your prefrontal cortex is denser within 6 months to 1 year of breaking an addiction, because breaking an addiction requires a lot of learning and a lot of introspection and self-control and willpower. An addiction is just a habit. It's a learning process. You have to unlearn the addiction and learn new habits. Your ability to overcome self-sabotaging urges and impulses that lead to short-term gratification without thinking about long-term goals and dreams, your ability to override that is stronger than someone who has never struggled with an addiction. Okay, so this idea that once an addict, always an addict is bullshit. And this idea that you can't overcome an addiction to any substance and then continue to use that substance is just not correct. I mean, think about it. We all get addicted to our phones and to coffee. I mean, just think about it. You interact with addictive substances and behaviors all the time. You are perfectly capable of self-correcting when you realize that you get out of balance. Your ability to learn is built in. Your brain is neuroplastic. You are always learning. And when you know what you want, you can get what you want. The problem with alcohol use disorder is it becomes a mental issue where you are so focused on what you don't want, and you think what you do want is the absence of a behavior, which isn't a thing. And I'm going to break it down for you as to why not drinking is not a good goal. But you are so capable of learning and growing and pursuing happiness. Science actually shows that people who change their drinking habits because they believe doing so will lead to greater happiness, are perfectly capable of easily, quickly, and sustainably, permanently changing their habits. When the goal is happiness versus a specific behavior, then your brain will naturally help you do whatever it is that actually makes you happy. So I want to explain that alcohol use disorder is a mental health disorder. It is in the DSM-5 under substance use disorders. And the diagnosis has nothing to do with how much or how often you drink. The diagnosis is subjective. Do you drink more than you think that you should drink? And if you reflect on your own experience, you'll realize that your problem with alcohol began when you first started wondering if it was a problem. The moment you labeled your drinking as a problem, you became a mind divided. Personally, I drank a long time and never had any thoughts that I had a problem. I drank my face off in college. I mean, I got some awards for stupid drinking antics. But because I perceived my behavior as normal and also temporary because I was in college, I didn't suffer. It didn't affect my identity. I had hangovers and they didn't feel good, but I was hanging out with other people that had hangovers, and it was just part of what you did on Saturday at college. You got up, worked out through your hangover, you studied, and then you went and did the whole stupid thing again. So because I perceived that as normal, I didn't suffer with shame. Shame is actually the root cause of alcohol use disorder. It wasn't until after college when I started noticing that I drank more than other people. And when I moved from needing a reason to drink, it's date night, it's girls' night out, it's a weekend, it's vacation. I needed a reason to drink. Slowly, I shifted into needing a reason to not drink. As soon as I was done driving for the day and everything was done that needed my full attention, and I could kind of just get half sloshed and finish the rest of all of my momming duties. As I shifted from needing a reason to drink to justify my drinking to needing a reason to not drink, I had to justify staying sober. That was when the alcohol use disorder started taking seed in my brain and growing into a true mental health issue, because I noticed that not everybody drank a whole bottle of wine every single night. And I was the only one who couldn't wait to get home on, Sunday after church or whatever and have my glass of wine when everybody else was done for the weekend and moving back into their weekly chores. I would go to a party and 2 glasses of wine wasn't enough for me. So then I started doing calculations for how I could sneak or double pour myself. And would there be enough alcohol at the event for me to feel like I had enough? Like, all of these thinking processes are what alcohol use disorder is. The more I came to believe that I wanted and needed to drink more than other people, the more ashamed I was of that. Shame is what perpetuates alcohol use disorder. It is not how much you drank last night. It is how you respond to yourself the next morning. When you wake up and you beat yourself up because something is wrong with you, you said something stupid, you drank too much, other people aren't as bad as you are. That is the internal dialogue, the mental health issue where you turn on yourself. And shame is the autoimmune disorder of emotions, right? Like the shame causes you to feel like you have to hide. And when you start feeling like you have a drinking problem, you hide it. Because first of all, if you mention that you have a drinking problem in this culture, they're going to take away your drinks forever, label you as an alcoholic, and send you down to AA to pick up a copy of your big book, your new sponsor, and start making a list of amends to everybody that you've ever wronged. So you can't tell anybody that you're struggling with drinking. And that just perpetuates the snowball effect of the shame spiral inside your brain, where you have 2 different beliefs. Bottom line is, you believe that alcohol has become a problem, but you also believe that alcohol is your solution. The competing belief sets with alcohol use disorder is, number one, that alcohol is a reward for hard work and being a good person who gets her shit done. And number 2, alcohol helps you relax. You've got a lot of stress on your plate, and the only way to take the pressure off the pressure valve is to pour yourself a drink. So alcohol is a reward. Alcohol helps you relax. And also, because of those things, the belief becomes you really enjoy drinking. And I know that that doesn't make sense yet, that it is a belief to think that you really enjoy drinking. But the truth is, in any given moment, some days you enjoy drinking more than others. Some days you're like, why am I even doing this? Or I don't even want to go. I'm too tired. It's exhausting. I don't want to have a drink tonight. So because you believe that you enjoy drinking, that belief overrides your natural desire to self-correct and to take care of yourself in any given moment, because you're so attached to the belief that alcohol is a reward and you deserve that, and alcohol helps you relax and you also deserve that, and you just really like drinking. Your identity has become somebody who is a drinker. And then as alcohol use disorder develops, the competing set of beliefs, it becomes, I can't stop once I start. I need or want more alcohol than other people. And not drinking or drinking less would actually be hard for me. And those are also beliefs. It's not true to say that you can't stop once you start. You stop all the time. You control your drinking when you have to drive, or when you are putting on a show or hostessing a party and it's really important to you to keep everybody else on task, you're not over drinking. You don't drink all day at work. You can give up alcohol maybe when you are trying to lose weight and get bikini ready and do your whole 30 or your 75 hard or sober October or dry January. You can give up alcohol if you're getting a liver enzyme test tomorrow or a pee test. You absolutely can stop once you start when you're properly motivated. And so what I want you to understand is that just trying to change your behavior does not eliminate alcohol use disorder. There's an argument that could be made that even people who have been sober for years and haven't had a drink still have alcohol use disorder because they still think of themselves as somebody who can't control themselves with alcohol. When if they haven't had a drink in years, they are controlling themselves. And so they're telling themselves a story and just living in this self-fulfilling prophecy. The bottom line is this isn't about your relationship with alcohol at all. It's about your relationship with yourself. It is the story you're telling yourself about who you are and what you are capable of and what you want. You might also consider that you don't have a high tolerance for alcohol. You have a high tolerance for ignoring yourself. Most of my clients are high achieving, overachievers, overthinkers who, when their eyes wake up in the morning, they hit the ground running and it is go time. And they run like a bat out of hell all day long. Their brain is always 3 steps ahead of their body. Their to-do lists are 3 times longer than what's actually realistic or fair to themselves. In the early days of my program, I have my clients write out a job description that if somebody had to replace them, what that person would be asked to do. And most of the time, my clients who are over drinking and struggling with alcohol use disorder have so much on their plate that replacing themselves would require 3 full-time people who are willing to work without bathroom breaks and good sleep and high quality nutrition and appropriate downtime where you just get to put your feet up and take a breath. My clients drink the way they drink because that's how they're doing everything. When you live your life like pants on fire, bat out of hell, can't get enough, never going to get it done, go more, go hard. When you live your life as somebody who is constantly running and whose brain is always 3 steps ahead of your body, you are disconnected from your felt experience. You have to disconnect from your felt experience. You have to ignore your own needs in order to serve whatever bullshit in your brain you're trying to accomplish. And when you are disconnected from yourself during the day, you continue to be disconnected from yourself in the evening. When you live at a fast pace, you drink at a fast pace. And the good news, before I even get into my 4 reasons why you shouldn't quit drinking, the good news is that learning how to connect with your body, plugging your brain back into your body so you are aware of and prioritizing your own felt experiences does not cost you in the productivity department. You are not going to get less done and have to lower your standards in life. It's the exact opposite, my friends. When you plug your brain back into your body and actually listen to the truth of your experiences instead of bouncing around overthinking all these fake problems in your head, like alcohol is a problem and alcohol is a solution. When you are living in the truth in any given moment and responding to yourself and your own needs in any given moment, you get superhero qualities. All of your energy and focus and mental resources are available for you to actually act upon the outside world, set and achieve goals, and move through the world. When you are no longer draining your mental battery with all these internal processes about what is a problem and how much and you shouldn't and what that person thinks and you shouldn't have done this and you got to worry about this and all the mental processes that are draining your mental battery. When you plug your brain back into your body and get what I call emotionally sober, your ability to 10x your life, to transform yourself, your future, and live in financial abundance and healthy, happy relationships with good boundaries and achieve whatever you want in life without fear and worry and shame and guilt and regret and all of those things. When you are no longer being held hostage by your brain, You are able to see the world objectively. You are able to see your options. You're no longer listening to all the stories in your mind and arguing for your own limitations. When you are able to manage your mind instead of being a servant to your mind, your subconscious programming, then untold power is available to you. This is how you become one of the top percent. There are basically two sorts of people in the world. 95% of people, their emotions are controlling their thinking processes. You feel worried and concerned and ashamed and guilty. You think worried and concerned and ashamed and guilty. You see the world through that filter. When you feel powerful and confident and clear and open and curious and compassionate and happy and excited and like you have a purpose, when you feel those things, you think like that. So I want to just boil all this down for you. Instead of trying to change your drinking so that you can feel better about yourself as a person and better in your body, true story, less alcohol, the less you drink, the better you're going to feel. But when you shift your goal from changing your drinking into changing your thinking, you become a person who drinks like somebody who's in control of herself and who feels powerful and confident. If you feel powerful and confident, you drink like someone who feels powerful and confident. So let's get into the 4 reasons why you shouldn't try to quit drinking when you are struggling with alcohol use disorder, when you drink more than you think you should drink. The first one is that sobriety is just the nothing in the all or nothing cycle. If you are an all or nothing person, then you'll notice if you zoom out and look at your drinking habits over the years, what happens is that your drinking slowly gets worse and worse, and there's a buildup. And then all of a sudden you wake up so hungover and you feel so ashamed and so bad that you are like motivated out of the pain. The pain of the problem is motivating you to make a change. And so you overcorrect into sobriety. I'm not going to drink for a period of time. And then what happens is that gets to building up because you're viewing sobriety as a punishment for bad behavior. And if you're being punished and you're being good in response to that, then you're reinforcing the idea that you're going to deserve a reward for this when all this is done. So the problem here isn't alcohol. The problem is the all or nothing thinking that's driving the over drinking and then the overcorrection. And then understand that this is just a cycle. You want to escape the cycle. And the way I teach overcoming alcohol use disorder in my program is to begin with very small, realistic goals. It is absolutely ridiculous for you to just cross your fingers and hope and pray that on Monday or whenever it is that you've decided to start over, you're going to wake up and be a completely different person. It doesn't work that way. Your habits are 95% of your thoughts and your behaviors. You cannot make a conscious decision and override your subconscious. Consciousness is only about 5% of what you're dealing with. It's like the tip of the iceberg. Okay, your behavior is simply a reflection of the 95% of the thoughts and beliefs that are driving your behavior. And so what I have my clients do is set small goals, like just reducing the amount of drinking that they are doing. Delay, don't deny your first drink. And then measure and count the improvements. Notice when it occurs to you to stop drinking a little bit sooner, or notice when you forgot to finish a drink over the course of an hour. Like, you have to notice that it's not just your behaviors that you want to notice improvements on. It's also the thoughts that occur to you. Even if you don't follow through on the habits, what you want to be looking for is the thoughts that you want to grow. Like this little baby thought, this little baby urge that says, I don't really even want to drink tonight. Or after your second drink, I feel like I've had enough. Maybe you don't listen to those thoughts in the early days, but noticing that the thought was there is what allows you to pay attention to that thought next time so that it begins to strengthen and grow. You have to start looking forward instead of looking backwards. The habit with alcohol use disorder is to wake up and look back and think of all the things you did wrong and where you fell short and didn't stick to your goals, and then beat yourself up and light the shame fire that fuels the next over drinking episode. Instead, when you wake up, this is why I call myself the hangover whisperer. You have to look forward and say, okay, how am I going to do better next time? What can I take away? How can I learn from this situation? What went right? And what do I need to do more of? Where have I made some improvements? Let me tell you that there will be no more improvements until you give yourself credit for the improvements you've already made. And when you are operating under a black and white, all or nothing thinking, where you either got it all right and you can be super proud of yourself, you got 100% on your test. When you are operating under that, then you miss all the incremental improvements that will cause you to make more improvements. And that's the all or nothing cycle. I want you to think of a drinking episode on a scale of 1 to 10. The perfectionistic mindset says, if I didn't get it all right, then I get no points. The solution to alcohol use disorder is, even if on a scale of 1 to 10, you got a 1, not winning any trophies, right? Not feeling real proud of yourself. A 1 out of 10 may not seem like an improvement that's worthy of celebration. But if you don't get the 1 out of 10, you're never going to get the 2 out of 10 or the 3 out of 10. You have to start where you are instead of arguing about where you should be. And when you are trying to change your habits that are 95% mental, you have to understand that the process of change takes time. But if you want sustainable long-term change where you are no longer trying to control your behavior, if someone asks you if you want a third glass of wine, the words in your head are, no, thank you, I've had enough. And you go back to whatever you're focused on. If that is your goal, or if on a weeknight you would like to it not even occur to you to pour a drink, if that is your goal, to be unbothered by the topic of alcohol when you have bigger and better things to do. If that is your goal, then you need to approach change sustainably. You have to work with small, incremental 5 to 10% improvements that then you can repeat and practice under pressure and stress test these improvements. And then once they become a habit, then you begin to build on them. You have to set realistic expectations for yourself, which is why the black and white, all or nothing mindset is causing the problem, not solving the problem. And that's why I don't have my clients adopt a period of sobriety. Now, that's not to say that you don't want to increase the amount of time that you're enjoying staying sober, or that's not to say that you shouldn't try to take a night off every now and then. This is for intelligent people. My approach is for intelligent people who are capable of seeing what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you shouldn't try to drink less. What I'm saying is there's a right way to do it so that it doesn't feel like you're drinking less. You're living and enjoying yourself more. Okay. So the second reason that I do not have you quit drinking, even when you are over drinking, is because even when you do get it right, and you do get a 10 out of 10 and perfectly stick the landing on your 10-day detox or your 30-day months of sobriety, dry January, sober October, whatever, when you do get it right, what you've actually done is reinforce the belief. And I want to preface this by saying that this is not all or nothing either. Okay. Taking 30 days off of alcohol will feel amazing. Okay. So if you can do it and you want to do it, go for it. But if you're doing it in a way that requires more willpower and white knuckling, what you are doing is reinforcing the beliefs that you deserve a reward for the struggle that you just went through. And conveniently enough, alcohol is your reward. It also infuses you with a sense of confidence that you have hit the reset button. But let me reiterate that the root cause of alcohol use disorder is shame. And when you use sobriety to avoid that shame, you're using good behavior to avoid your bad feelings. Those feelings don't go away. You haven't learned to process your shame. What you've done is just avoided your shame, and you've taken a nice break from alcohol use disorder and beating yourself up, and it's been an amazing month. Congratulations. But that shame is still there inside you, and you did not learn how to process it. So when you reintroduce alcohol, the moment you mess up, which you will mess up because these are habits. There is a 100% chance that you cannot make a decision and execute perfect behavior in all areas of your life for the rest of your life. At some point, you are going to wake up with either a literal hangover or a shame over something that you've done. And all that shame is going to come back. And that's when the cycle resets. So getting a false sense of accomplishment and telling yourself, I can control myself because I just went 30 days without drinking. You need to understand that not drinking and drinking in moderation are two different skill sets. We do a lot of work in my program with intuitive drinking, mindful drinking. You have to unlearn the old habits that cause you to just start drinking the hand to mouth. You have to plug your brain back into your body and feel from a felt sensation the biphasic effects of alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. It's a biphasic drug, meaning small amounts and large amounts of alcohol have opposite effects. There is a therapeutic benefit for some people sometimes. It's not all or nothing. There is a therapeutic benefit up until the 0.055 blood alcohol level, which is about 2 drinks for women. There's a difference between being buzzed and being intoxicated. And once you cross that biphasic line, you are quickly going to hit the law of diminishing returns, where the negative side effects begin to compound. Your cortisol levels are going to shoot through the roof. Your dopamine reserves are going to get blown because all of your dopamine is going to the alcohol. And the next day, you're going to be in a dopamine deficit. Alcohol is a drug. It has very specific physiological impact on the body. What goes up must come down. And so if you've been in the habit of over drinking for years, you may not know where that line is. Now, you do know. And as a coach, I will pull it out of you. I will teach you how to notice that you already know. But it's like looking for the B in subtle. Okay, it's there, but it's a subconscious awareness that you are so used to ignoring. Again, you don't have a high tolerance for alcohol. You have a high tolerance for ignoring yourself. You are so used to ignoring the impact of alcohol in your body and just powering through because that's who you are and how you roll, that you have to train yourself in the subtle art of drinking again. So to sum it up, a period of sobriety does not train you to drink in moderation. That is a separate skill set. And so the third reason why you don't want to quit drinking as a solution to over drinking is because you're reinforcing the idea that sobriety is a punishment for bad behavior and that you can't control yourself. The more you have to white knuckle and willpower your way through not drinking, the more you're going to need a different strategy. The harder it feels, the more important it is that you find a different strategy. You're going to have to learn that not drinking, aka sobriety, aka staying alcohol free, is actually a form of self-care. It's like sleep. The more you get, the better you feel. And like sleep, you don't have to stay sober all the time, just like you don't have to sleep all of the time. But we all know how good sleep feels. Instead of thinking that sobriety is a punishment, it needs to become a reward. Staying alcohol free so that it gives you a clear mind and the ability to have an amazing night's sleep. You're going to have to learn how to relax, how to regulate your nervous system without alcohol, because alcohol may regulate you for a little bit and give you a chance to escape the stress in your body, but it doesn't eliminate the stress. You're going to have to learn that the stress that you feel, the pressure that you live in, is an inside job. The only reason why alcohol is so appealing to you is because you need something to escape your own mind. That busy bully of a brain that is always telling you you're not good enough. That wasn't right. Other people are going to be upset. You're never done. That busy bully of a brain is your nemesis, not alcohol. And I promise you that once you learn how to manage your mind and how to live in a state of calm and peace and happiness, no matter what is going on in your life, Like in my program, we call it unfuckwithable. Like we have a one word goal of the program, and that is to become unfuckwithable, unbothered, so that you are able to breathe and be your best self at all time instead of running around like a chicken with your head cut off, constantly trying to make all the people around you happy and get everything done according to what your brain says. Like just imagine the power you would have in your life if you were unbothered, if you were unfuckwithable. No matter what happens out there, you're okay in here, which gives you the ability to see clearly, think 5 steps ahead. Like it's a completely powerful way of living when you are no longer allowing your emotions to control your thinking, because the more stressed you are, the more stressed you think. And stress by definition is negative, myopic, low level questions that lead to instant gratification instead of higher level, long-term goals that allow you to move through life in a way that you get what you want and you manifest the life that you want to live. I promise you that if you felt unfuckwithable and unbothered, you would drink like someone who is unfuckwithable and unbothered. And that leads me to the fourth reason why you shouldn't quit drinking as a solution to overdrinking. And that is because quitting drinking is a negative goal. It's the absence of a behavior. You cannot visualize yourself not drinking. And if you can't see yourself doing something, you're not going to do it, or it's going to be real damn hard. You have to learn how to use your brain as the tool that it is. Your brain will get you whatever you think you want. There's nothing wrong with your brain. It will get you what you think you want. And when you are in the throes of alcohol use disorder, all you are thinking about is what you don't want. And that's what your brain is getting you, more of what you don't want. So you're going to have to change your internal dialogue. You're going to have to shift what it is that you think you want and begin to build out the neural pathways that have atrophied for what you want that has nothing to do with alcohol. For example, in the early days of my program, when someone is trying to dial their drinking back and they want to know, okay, I'm going to a party. Normally I would drink to the point of being blackout drunk. What do I do instead? And I do not give them behavior-based goals like, oh, then just try to drink only 2 drinks at the party or alternate water with your drinks. I mean, you can do all of that. That's part of the strategy. But the real goal that I have them set for the party is, why are you going to the party? What is it that you want to feel? And a lot of times it boils down to, I want to feel connected to other people. I want to feel like I'm enjoying myself. When you give your brain that goal, your brain will begin to solve for that. You will begin to notice, oh, I don't feel connected here. And even if you're in the habit of over drinking, you know that there is a point when you are no longer connected. You have gotten numb and dumb and you're in your head, or you're not paying attention, you're missing things. So if you set the goal to be connected, your brain would alert you, hey, if I have one more drink right now in the next hour, I'm not going to feel as connected. Your brain will begin to solve problems for the goal that you're telling it that you want, which is why not drinking is not a good goal. You want to set positive emotional goals for how you want to feel. And then your brain will solve for how to get you that. And then drinking less or not at all becomes a side effect of you feeling better and good and achieving the positive goals that you want. Your brain cannot get you what you want unless you tell it what you want. I want you to think of your brain like the Google search engine bar. You have to know what you're looking for in order to find it. You can't type into the Google search bar, I don't want pizza for dinner, and get any results that have, as a matter of fact, if you did that, you'd be getting images of pizza, why pizza is bad and you shouldn't eat it. Like, it wouldn't solve any problems. Just like when you get in an Uber, you can't say, well, I don't want to go to the mall or to the beach. You have to know exactly what you want in order to get it, which is why the solution to alcohol use disorder is creating a vision for yourself, reconstructing your identity for who you are and what's important to you. Because if you knew who you were and what was important to you and what you wanted, you would be getting that and you would be drinking like someone who knows who you are and what's important to you and is getting what you want in life. Okay? Your drinking is just a reflection of your relationship with yourself and of your relationship with your brain. There is nothing wrong with your brain. Your brain is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used to create or destroy. The solution to alcohol use disorder is to realize that your drinking is not the problem. Your thinking is the problem. 90% of this disorder is in the mind. And so 90% of your focus needs to be on the mental processes that are driving the behavior and causing stress and worry and anxiety and shame and fear and guilt. You need to do the work to resolve those emotions and learn how to use your brain like the brilliant tool that it is, and set realistic expectations that alcohol use disorder isn't going to go away overnight. Whether you quit drinking or not, it doesn't go away until you learn how to process your emotions and control and manage your mind and become the version of you inside that acts the way you want on the outside. And I gotta say, this is why there's so much alcohol use disorder out there, because the whole world wants to address the drinking problem with sobriety. I am the only person that I know of on the planet that is using a common sense, intuitive approach to helping women change the way they drink by changing how they think and putting out the shame fire and the panic attack over the drinking habit as it currently exists. It's gotten you through to here. Like, chill out, you're going to be fine, and then begin to work from the inside. And change, as I often explain, is kind of like melting an ice cube. You take an ice cube out of the freezer, it doesn't melt right away. It takes time. You have to notice the improvements or the change over time, the little bit of water that's melting and glistening. Like, yes, the temperature in the room doesn't support the ice cube, but this change process takes time. And you have to get the tools to process your shame so that you are no longer thinking in response to how do I get rid of this shame. You go into it energetically, regulating your nervous system and learning how to process it so that it doesn't come back, so that you don't have to use good behavior to avoid these bad feelings. You don't have to be afraid of your own feelings. Just imagine what would be possible for you if you weren't afraid of your own damn feelings. That's freedom. That's emotional sobriety.